So today I decided I felt good enough to get on the motorcycle. I really miss riding, but that's the way it is right now. So I literally took a short ride, I don't know, 3 miles probably, up into town. And I went to a park in town, and I brought my little tiny Whoop with me. It's actually a tiny Whoop clone. It's an Eachine E013. This is a great little quad, super inexpensive. It's like, I think it's under $30 for the quad. And you can get the quad with goggles for $65. Totally complete setup, ready to go. Actually, the only thing you have to add is a couple of batteries in the transmitter. But the battery for the quad comes with it. So anyways, I'm flying around and I quickly noticed that a couple things. One, it's too windy. Secondly, the reception is bad here, and I don't know if there's interference in the park or if there's something wrong with the antennas I'm using. I am using the stock antennas that come with these goggles. Again, they're very inexpensive goggles, but they work really well. There's no lag whatsoever. And one thing you'll see is my steering left and right is very twitchy. That's the other issue. Actually, that's probably my biggest issue with this little quad, is the steering. It's very twitchy. It's either on or off. There's no real smooth. It's supposed to be proportional, but it really doesn't seem like it is. It seems like it's on or off. So that would be my one big con against this little quad. But, you know, for somebody getting into it, super inexpensive. It's a heck of a lot of fun to fly. Highly recommend getting one. So here you'll notice I'm going out of ways, and the other issue I run into here in a moment is I get out of range. The wind is kicking up here, so I tell myself, well, I'm going to spin it around real quick. And there we go. That's it. I have no control, and as you can see, the props are trying to spin in the grass. So I realize I'm in the tall grass, and I know that this isn't good for motors, so I got up real quick and ran over and got within range, and I was able to turn them off. So here in a minute they do turn off. Not positive, but I believe right there somewhere it ended up turning off. Okay, so I'll cut back. I went ahead and went back, and now I'm just going to fly around for a little bit. Yeah, as you can see, I'm really struggling with the wind. The little quad has 3 rate settings, 1, 2, and 3. That's low, medium, and high. And in rate 3, it's actually pretty snappy. But because of its size, and you know, from that image you saw earlier, it's tiny in your hand. It gets knocked around quite a bit, and you'll notice that even more once I go over and start playing in the park over here. So I'm trying to line up to get over there, and right about here, I switch it into mode 1, just so I have a little more control as I'm going through here. And it's really not sufficient. It ends up not being enough throw for me to control the wind, so it bounces me around quite a bit. You can see here it's knocking me back and forth. I'm trying to keep it level, and it's just a little bit hard to do. And then the other issue is because of this signal being so bad at this park. There you can see I'm cutting out pretty bad. So once in a while I can't actually tell where I'm at for a second. Gets a little bit out of control for me, but that's all good. Like I say, it's a lot of fun. This is a great way to learn. I really highly recommend this for somebody that wants to learn how to FPV, because I'll tell you, my first dozen flights or so, I just had a hard time with it. And I'm comfortable flying quads. I don't have any problem flying them, but FPV is definitely a new learning experience. Once you get it, it's a ton of fun. And I'll get better. I'll get to where, especially on a calm day, I'll be flying through these tighter areas, you know. At the house, I can actually fly through some tight spots because there's no wind in the house. But outdoors, it's definitely affected easily by things. So here I've moved over closer to the playground. I thought this would make the reception a little bit better, but as you'll see, it's actually not any better, which really surprised me. So I'm thinking maybe the trees are affecting it, and then maybe there's some Wi-Fi interference around here somewhere. You can see shortly it starts getting bad. So like I say, there's probably some interference, some Wi-Fi interference around here. Maybe the metal of the gymnasium or the gym equipment is doing it. I'm not really sure. Or the playground equipment, I guess I should call it. Yeah, I'm having a really hard time seeing. So there, you can see I bumped into a branch, bumped into the side of the tree, and then I've also got the wind hitting me. But and then, you know, aside from that, I'm not a great pilot yet, so it'll take me a while to get a little better at it. So I would imagine I can overcome a lot of these issues once I get better at it. I'm just constantly having to fight the little buffets of wind that hit it. So that's playing around the playground a little bit. Let's go ahead and move. I'm going to move to the other side of the park a little bit closer to the motorcycle so I can fly up to the street. And we'll come back to that in just a moment. So now I've moved to the other side of the park. You can see the playground over to the right back there. And unfortunately the wind has gotten quite strong now. So I'm fighting against it, trying to get back here, and it's just really fighting. And I know you can't see much moving. It doesn't take a lot of wind to make this little thing be affected. I probably only have, maybe up to 4 or 5 mile-an-hour winds, but for this thing, it's quite a bit. So there's my bike, and unfortunately, again, my reception is bad, so I don't really get a good video of the bike. No big deal. You can look at my other videos if you want to see the bike. But yeah, I'm just kind of flying around here, having a good time, fighting the wind. Now, one thing you can't notice is actually in the goggles, the video is a little bit better, actually quite a bit better than what you're seeing in this video here. For one, it's much wider. It's a widescreen, and this does not show the widescreen view very well. But it's just a much better video in the goggles. The colors are easier to see. It's very bright. The goggles I'm super happy with. I didn't do the $65 goggles. I waited a while until I could afford to add the goggles. And I got a little bit better pair. These are the, what are they? I believe they're the EV D800Ds. So they have the DVR built in. That's where I'm getting this recording from. They're fantastic goggles. They're 4.7 inch screen. Or maybe even a 5 inch screen. I can't remember on this pair. I think they're 4.7, but it's very large to be looking at. Yeah, reception drives me nuts. I'm going to have to do something with that. I probably will have to change the antennas because I've heard everybody say the stock antennas probably aren't good enough. So I'm not going to bore you with a ton of flying. You've kind of seen what it does. You've seen the quality. You've seen things. Here, real quick, I was going to try and get myself in the lens of the helmet. I was going to try and get myself in the reflection. Of course, I'm looking through the goggles, so I'm not really sure where I'm at, but and here I'm going to try and get a reflection, but the wind was just too much. I couldn't get it to stay close enough. So I fly off. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the 4K video I did on the motorcycle. This will be the first time I've actually used 4K on this camera. This would be the SJ Cam SJ6. What is it? Can't remember the name. Anyways, it's the SJ6. And I wanted to test out the 4K, so that's what I'll do next. But first, I go for one more flight real quick. And unfortunately, the battery's getting low and it's really windy, so I don't have a lot of control of it. It's kind of getting thrown around an awful lot. I'll go up to the bike one more time. I'll play with the railing a tiny bit. On a calm day, I really want to mess around with going fast through railings and things like that. One cool thing is about this little drone too, because it's so light. I mean, it's super light. When you do run into things, it doesn't get any damage. I haven't broken anything on it. And, I hit the walls a lot. I've hit poles occasionally. I hit those trees earlier. Of course, I wasn't hitting them very hard, but I do want to do some fast flying and see what I can do with it. So now I've turned on the camera. I'm putting my helmet on, and all this time I'm actually talking in the video, but unfortunately I didn't realize the microphone had been turned off on the camera. It's a touch screen on the back, and unfortunately it's really easy to touch that little thing, and it can even happen during a recording, which I wish they would create some sort of lockout so you can't do that accidentally, because I have no audio in any of this video now. But here again, I just wanted to test out the 4K, so I'm going to go ahead and do 4K, and we'll go for a little ride back to the house. Gotta put my glasses on and they're filthy. I'm not sure how they got so dirty. Because we don't have any audio. Rum, rum. So we're leaving the park, and I've decided I want to just run you guys down through Old Town Placerville on the motorcycle, because I can't remember if I've ever taken you through there on the motorcycle or not. I quite often take you through on the electric unicycle, but a little bit different on a bike. So we're going to take a right up here at the stop sign instead of going left, which is normally how I'd go back home. We'll go to the right, and that'll drop us into the top side of Old Town Placerville. And again, this video is basically to test out the 4K on the SJ Cam. And from what I'm seeing so far, it's actually quite good. It is interpolated 4K, and it's only 25 frames per second. As I'm processing it here, I can't really tell how smooth the video is, so we'll see that when we get to YouTube. And the other issue is YouTube usually chews up a 4K pretty bad. Actually chews up all video pretty bad, but by compressing it. But we'll see. Once I get it into YouTube, we'll have a good idea of what it looks like. Yes, I do turn my head back and forth a lot. I'm one of those people that rides as if everybody wants to try and run me over. And because of that, I've only been down one time on a motorcycle. I've never been hit. I've been riding since I was 5 years old. I've been on the street since I was about 13 years old. Got my permit at 15 and a half, so it was legal. And I've put hundreds of thousands of miles on motorcycles. And I've literally been down one time on the street. Dozens of times in the dirt, but one time on the street. I was going around a turn. It was a 15-mile-an-hour turn, and I was doing about 35. Not a huge deal usually, but I was kind of watching the yellow line, you know, had my eye down on the yellow line. I was staying on my side of it. All of a sudden I realized I was going across a little bit, so I dropped it down a little further. My foot peg hit the ground and lifted up the front tire, and that was it. I spun out, went across the lane and off the little cliff on the other side. And I wasn't really hurt. I mean, my pride was hurt, but I wasn't really hurt until I went down that hill and grabbed the motorcycle and dragged it back up the hill. And it was a Seika 750, so it was a fairly heavy bike. And that's the only time I've been down on the street. Like I say, lots of times in the dirt. You know, I've hurt myself a few times. I've never been knocked out. A lot of scrapes, bruises, what have you. Never been knocked out on a motorcycle. Have been knocked out three times on a bicycle. Twice with a helmet on. Still got knocked out. And the first time I did it, I was about 7 years old, going down a big mountain, and went over the handlebars. I got the death wobble, and at 7 years old, I wasn't able to handle it. It was a big 27-inch wheel, 3-speed bicycle. It was my mom's bike, and I was heading down this really steep hill. The whole family was riding, and got the death wobble and went over the front of the handlebars and landed on my face, and that knocked me out. So like I say, 3 knockouts from bicycle, none from motorcycle yet. Cross my fingers, and, you know, I think I'll be all right. So that was Old Town Placerville we just went through, and here in a moment I'm just going to be getting on the freeway. This is all kind of boring, so I'll probably fast forward through a little bit. This will also be a good test for the frame rate, since I'm speeding it up. Give us a good idea of what the frame rate is like on a 4K 25 frames per second. I know when I do a 60 frames per second, it's still pretty dang smooth. But it looks like it's going to be a little bit choppy here, but we'll see when we get the finished product. So this guy's in a little bit of a hurry. And all I can think about is I hope he doesn't crash and die in front of me, because I've been to some pretty gory accidents and it's no fun. I'm always the guy that jumps in and tries to hold somebody together, and it gives me nightmares after a while. But anyways, yeah. Now, unless you've ridden a bike, I can't possibly describe to you how good it feels to be on the bike right now. It's about 72 degrees. The weather's perfect. I got a really light jacket on, so it's nice and comfortable. There's really not a lot like riding a motorcycle. It's its own thing, you know, like an EUC, riding an electric unicycle is its own thing, and flying is its own thing. The motorcycle is just something that really grounds you. I don't know, everything else is kind of out of your head and it just clears your head. It's very, very therapeutic. If you ever get a chance to ride, you should. If anybody wants to go ride, I'll give you a ride. Gotta let me know. But yeah, it is amazing. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I'm getting closer to my house. I know probably in the past I've probably taken you all the way to my house, and you know, I wasn't really worried about it. But at this point, I got a little over 1,400 subscribers, and I get about 25,000 views every month, a little bit over that. And I'm not worried about any of my subscribers. Love y'all. Y'all guys are great. But there's that one guy, you know, that sits in the corner and he doesn't like me, and he views my videos, and I kind of don't want him finding out where I live. So anyways, I love you guys. If you liked this video, I know it was an odd one. It's kind of jumped around all over the place, testing out this camera and testing out the drone and, you know, doing all kinds of things. But anyways, if you happen to like it, feel free to like it and subscribe and hit the bell if you want to be notified when there's new videos. And other than that, I love y'all, and I will see you all later.